I was brought up in an artistic environment, and my mum was especially. But she was always she used to do evening classes doing art, and then do paint. My dad used to do woodwork, and my mum used to paint on the woodwork and sell them. So I was at craft fairs all the time when I was a little kid. So if you're encouraged, and which I was drawing from as soon as you can make a mark on a piece of paper, and if you like doing that, then you want to make another mark until it looks like something. So that was just the environment I was brought up in, and I think all kids do. I think all kids like making marks because it's creating something which is a natural instinct. But then, because it was encouraged, and it was encouraged at school, I won 2 competitions. I won one on the back of a cornflakes packet with a picture of a painting I did of a combine harvester. And then my sister had Jackie magazine, and you could send pictures in. So I did a picture of Mark Bolan, and under my sister's name, and won a shilling and a bag of Tutti Fruities or something like that. So
Have you still got it?
No, I wish I had. I mean, I presume somewhere in the depths of eBay you could locate these things, but you'd have to really dig with a massive shovel.
So was there kind of like a defining thing, like I want to be an artist?
No, it wasn't I want to be. I think if you want to be, I'm not sure you really succeed. I think it should be a natural thing, a natural development of something that you just presume is going to happen. Yeah. Not like I want to do this. And it always is, you see people on the X Factor and say, I started singing when I was 12. If you started singing when you're 12, it's too late. You should have been singing from birth. And it shouldn't be like, I want to do it. I really need to have this. It should be, that's just what's going to happen. And that's what happens with me.
Just like a step by step.
Yeah, I would not really even think about it. I don't think you think. I think it should be a natural thing and a natural progression. And it's kind of, I would maybe say selfish, but it's not selfish. It's just like, I'm in a privileged position of being able to do what I want as for a living. But if you can do what you like doing for a living, then you are going to do it well, rather than having to push anything and constantly think, should I do this or should I do that? Which is another reason that I let my train of thought guide me where I want to go, and never do something. I think I should do that because I can sell it. I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
When I left school, my dad said, go and work in a factory, because you want a skill and that's what you want. And so I did, and I said I wanted to go to art school, and he said, name me one artist who's actually made a living out of it. And I said, I can't, no one. So he was kind of looking after me, but then later on in life he said, I wish I'd let you go to art school. So I went later on, when in the 80s, when I was in my 20s, I just went and applied and went, because I just gave up. When I was 20, I decided I never wanted to work for anyone ever again, so I didn't. I just fled. I ran away from life.
When you were doing the factory period, were you still drawing and creating things?
Yeah, always, all the time, yeah.
So it wasn't like you let it go?
No, I've never, ever not drawn or painted. It's always been there. As a youth, now I suppose kids, and I'm not having a go, would spend time looking at laptops and fiddling about that. I did the equivalent pre-laptop and science, and I'd just paint in my bedroom every night. And there were generally pictures of sort of Isaac Asimov things, which I wasn't a fan of science fiction, but that's what I'd do. Planets being left, but in spaceships it looked quite like transit vans. Well, I went to John Cass in the East End, and well, I was only about 23, so no, it's and I don't think that makes a lot of difference. But that was great, and then I started. Actually, I was copying at the same time when I was there as I was at art school. I'd been doing shows already, and I was copying.
So you already kind of well into it.
Yeah, I was painting. What I started doing was copying Rembrandts and Davids and Caravaggio and like to work out how they painted, and then working out how to age them. So in essence, I was making forgeries.
And could you sell them?
Yeah, I sold quite a lot, yeah. I've got one left, one Fabricius, the goldfinch, which is about that big, but I did it that size. So it would never pass as a forgery because it's about 10 times bigger.
How close could you get on the copies?
Very close. I'd do it absolutely, yeah. I'd grid it and get it absolutely spot on. But then I worked out how to age them by mixing various, using shellac and rubbing it off and sort of pushing it into the grooves. So then, I was doing that. Then I completely changed. Yeah, well, I've never really had a style. That's probably one thing that I should have settled on, but I can't. It's like when people say, what sort of music do you like? I actually like every kind of music, and I couldn't, and probably an expert in everything.
I get asked what my favourite artist is, and I hate that.
Yeah, I know at that time I really admired Gilbert and George on one hand, and George Wissell Basquiat on the other hand, and then I would like David, or, it goes all over the place. You don't have to like one thing, and that's probably my style. That was go from David to Basquiat and all over the place, and it still does.
So in terms of influences, it's not really a specific kind of period or thing.
No, I could never. I get influenced by too many things, and still do. I'll if I go to say I went to the Tate Modern, I'd come back influenced and wanting to do, something that I'd never done before. So I'd be influenced by the style of somebody. But it might, was his name Tappies or, someone else, someone I've never done anything like that before. A Gerhard Richter. I'd want to go home and take a photograph and then drag oil paint all over it or something like that, and it's just wanting to do that stuff. I'm getting that eagerness and urge. I have different kinds of processes, and it depends what I'm doing. But if I've just done a series of 200 little drawings on A6, and the object of that was to produce 200 drawings, and I wanted them all to have a comedy angle. So it's literally, I landed on a subject and then ran with it for let's say for 10. So I went still lives, and I put the most unlikely things that you would have in a still life together, which would be like a jar of bee piss next to a beautiful rose. And that, and so I did that. That was a process that comes out of the mind of just thoughts, and I've got hundreds of notebooks with ideas and things like that. So I could just dip into one of them if I wanted. Then there's other processes which I would use, which I wanted to do recently. I wanted to do a kind of new pop art for now. So I took the TV show Catchphrase, and I took lots of different photographs of it, and then chopped it all up, and on my phone, in an app, chopped it all up, and then put it all back together again at the wrong angle, so it looked kind of abstract, but you could still tell what it was. and then gridded out a big canvas, and then just copied it straight onto that and did it in acrylic pen, because I like the idea of things don't need, there's new ways of doing things. You can do it in felt pen, there's no rules and there's no law in painting, and that worked out really well, and I love doing stuff like that. But what I'll do is maybe do a collage in my phone on the train, and then get home from wherever I've been, and then do the painting or the drawing.
Is what you find, or the final outcome, is that ever different to what you imagine it's going to be?
No, because I can see it in here, and it quite often ends up looking better than I've imagined it. But this week I do things that I'll do also. I'm very cheap. I'm an easy day. I'll do things, and if it goes well on Instagram, I'm happy. But I was doing some drawings that people liked. So it would be I'd get a picture of a tortoise, and then a picture of then I Google hunky bloke on horse, and then put him on the tortoise, and then put Stevie Wonder's head on top. And so when I've got the collage, I then do the drawing from it. And it's an easier process than trying to do it with it. I mean, it's a great thing so you can just do that quickly in your phone.
Yeah.
And then I'll just draw it either from the phone or print it off and then draw it from that.
And is that quite quick putting it together?
Yeah. And quite often the things that happen that really quickest are quite often the best.
Yeah.
One thing I've never understood this about art is that people say, what size is it? It shouldn't matter what size it is, otherwise those tiny little beautiful miniature portraits from the 18th century would be going for peanuts, because you could spend 3 years on a little painting that size, and you could get a canvas that size and just do a stroke across it.
We had a collector come into this show actually and asked the artist to show him a picture of one, and he said, how big is it? And she was like, I don't paint by the yard.
No, I know, it's a weird thing that people do. They want to know what's... I mean, I can understand if you've got a space to fill in your house, which is why I've done very well selling small drawings that size. But that's always going to be the way, and it's the general size that... I would probably be more likely to buy something small to fit into my house.
Yeah.
And that's the mystery of art and painting and sculpture. It should all be whatever. I don't think things should necessarily be explained, and they quite often aren't. And when I was at art school in Whitechapel, I used to go over to the Whitechapel gallery and I printed up little descriptions of paintings and stuck them on that were inaccurate.
Oh, but no one was looking.
Because I didn't really like the pompous way that the pictures were being described, because it didn't mean that to me, and I doubt to anyone. They were too verbose, and it didn't really mean anything. So I made my own up. I'm not sure that they need to be there. I mean, if you say, I don't really know what the name of the picture next to it should be enough.
Yeah.
And you don't really need the size or anything, or what it's painted on. It doesn't matter to me. I did a painting when in the early 80s, which was me as a pope and a pious pope, but I can't remember which one, holding a scroll, and I found, and in Latin I'd written, the meaning lies on the surface, because it was a self-portrait of me as a pope, but it didn't mean anything. I just did it.
Yeah.
So that's why that Latin, which is is kind of defeating the purpose and adding to it at the same time, but it's mysterious. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. But like, do you care what people think when they come and view the work?
Oh, I think everyone cares what people think.
There's a lot of
You
people
don't do
say-
things. No one ever does anything to be disliked.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people. Sometimes I do things that are so subtle people don't get it. I did one. There's a comedy site called Chortle, and one of the little drawings I did, which is in the show we've got at the moment, was the 4 main stand-ups, and it was Peter. It said Kay, McIntyre, the woman, what's she called? That Geordie woman. Milliken, and Asquith. Now the joke was that Asquith no one had heard of, but they'd put in. I'd done this drawing with Peter Kay, McIntyre, Sarah Milliken, and Robin Asquith from the 1970s like comedy films, and it wasn't. It was just like they'd not got that. It was too subtle. It shouldn't have been. Maybe I should have put a different name in, but they would have found someone, because people are always looking for a reason.
Yeah.
And in comedy and in art, and if everyone wants to know what's that about, because if I don't understand what it's about, I'm confused, and that's sending my mind into turmoil. So everyone's looking for an answer. They're looking for a solid reason. And it doesn't have to be.
No.
But you can make your own up if you want. Just keep it to yourself.
Nobody